Hello, this is Steve Woodall from ButterflyGear. In March 2025, I led a Greenwings Birding Africa tour to what is probably the most butterfly-rich nature reserve in South Africa, Lekgalameetse, at the foot of the Wolkberg Mountains in Limpopo. The road through the reserve follows the Salati River as it flows through a steep valley out of the Wolkberg. And this forest is home to some beautiful butterflies like this male eastern false chief, Pseudocrea lucretia expansa, and he's seen here in his usual wings open pose. And the eastern false chief has a rare golden form, Heliogenes, that can be seen at Lekgalameetse, but for some reason they're much more camera shy than normal form. They're hard to photograph. Another speciality of Lekgalameetse is the large Cambridge vagrant Nephronia thalassina sinulata, whose males are a stunning pale blue. The reason for its name is that the colour is reminiscent of that worn by players of the Cambridge University Rugby Union Football Club. So imagine getting into a scrum with one of these. Another large blue butterfly we saw at Lekgalameetse is the veined swordtail Graphium leonidas, which has pale blue spots on a black background. The yellowish hairs, where its hind wings meet his body, means he's a male. And those hairs are his hair pencils that carry pheromones to excite females. These hair pencils are behind the name graphium, which is Greek for a writing stylus, i.e. a pencil. It has the name swordtail because other graphium species have got long pointed tails, but this one doesn't have them. Lekgalameetse is noted for its mud puddle clubs, where male butterflies sit sucking at mineral-rich moisture on the forest floor or on the roads. And these uniform grass yellows, Eurema floricola, are in a tight group and normally would not open their wings, unless someone deliberately disturbs them, which will make them get up, up, up. The most spectacular mud puddle clubs are the ones with the swallowtails. And these male, narrow, green-banded swallowtails, Papilio nereus laeus, congregate where they are mineralizing, soaking up minerals from wet sand eroded from the surrounding rocks. And by doing this, they increase the chances of successfully fertilizing female butterflies. Yes, it all comes down to sex in the end. As well as the gorgeous male narrow green-banded, or actually more turquoise swallowtails, there's an emperor swallowtail, there's an African albatross white, and a soldier pansy, all getting down and dirty in the mud. And in the heart of Lekgalameetse, there is a waterfall not far from the road, and a tributary flows under a bridge into the Salati River, and you can see the butterflies as you walk towards it. This waterfall has a place in South African butterfly folklore. When Lekgalameetse was called Malta Forest, David Swanepoel, the author of The Butterflies of South Africa, Where, When and How They Fly, used to camp out here and wax lyrical about the swarms of butterflies on the wet sand. In those days, wild animals were widespread, and he related a story about being menaced by a lion near here. Well, there are no more lions, but there are still lots of butterflies, as we can see. This is the famous waterfall. The stream flows out of the pool and over some rocks where the sand is wet and animals come to drink. And the frowning eastern face of the Wolkberg has many streams like this one, but it's the only easily accessible one. And huge emperor swallowtails, Papilio ophidicephalus, jostle for space with the citrus swallowtails, Papilio doedocus, and the stunning blue-green of the narrow green-banded swallowtails, Papilio nereus laeus. Over the roar of water going over the falls, you can see the action on the wet sand. Lots of green-banded and a few emperors and citrus swallowtails and one male mocker swallowtail. And here you can see how tight the action is. The green-banded swallowtails like leaves on the forest floor, the emperors darting in and out, mocker swallowtails keeping still and watched by some grass yellows, and a few little zebra blues sit close by, flying up occasionally to join in the fun. Lekgalameetse waterfall is about 900 meters elevation above sea level, and the butterflies we saw there are essentially lowland forest species. Further on, the road goes over the 1370 meter Oreburgwanov Pass. Near the summit of the pass, a track runs off to the high-altitude Church Forest, which probably got its name from the massive trees there that look like the pillars of a cathedral. And here we find the white-banded swallowtail, Papilio eteroides. This is a male, a butterfly found in higher altitude, cooler forests. This one was sitting with his wings closed because, as usual, it was cool. He opened his wings briefly for a client. We also saw the Transvaal bush beauty, Paralethe dendrophyllus junodi, at Church Forest. It's also found at the waterfall, but it prefers the cooler parts of the forest. It's in these high, cool Afromontane forests that we find the elusive, uncommon canopy dweller, the Wartburg forest king Caraxes. Caraxes ziphores kenway. This is a male. These are normally only seen as a silhouette high on the forest edge or as a black shape whizzing around the treetops. Unfortunately, it's possible to entice them down to some overripe fruit. We also found female mocker swallowtails, Papilio dardanus, which are less in your face than the males, and they're found on flowers in shady places. This is a pale green form, natalensis. And this is a black and white form, Hippocronides. Female mocker swallowtails have many colour forms, and they vary from reddish orange to cream and white. So those were a few examples of what we saw in our March safari. And we also went to the high peaks and grasslands of Lekgalameetse. This is a view from the 1500 meter peak above Church Forest, with the huge 1800 meter massif of the Wartburg in the distance. And those grasslands are known as the Downs, and they're home to their own special butterflies. More about those in a forthcoming post. This is Steve Woodall signing off for now.